What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Crash Course Metal Show. I am your host, Crash, and we have back again another week, another episode, and another visit from our buddy, Chris Elliott from 86 Bullets. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Crash?
Good, man. Same old, just listen to music. It doesn't get much better than what we're going to be bringing you guys here in this episode. So we came out with an idea. We're going to do, we each bring an album to the table here in this series of episodes called All Killer, No Filler albums. So we each brought one to the table this week. And first, we will get to Chris's. And Chris, do you want to tell us a little bit about your album here?
Yep. Okay, so for the first one I picked is this one here, Def Leopards Pyromania. Came out in 1983. It's to me, every track is really good. It's another Mutt Lange production.
Mm-hmm.
It's came right after another great album, High and Dry.
Right.
This one was sort of a transitional period for them. They got, if you critique it, some people might say, well, it's a little too poppy, or the drums started to sound more like 80s, electronic drums, that kind of thing. They're going for the, total change up. It's getting a little bit away from the hard rock sound, but it's hard. It's pretty hard rock, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
You call it metal for the time. It might have been considered metal, but it's a hard rocking album. It's a little bit more polished, but it's not like Hysteria. They hadn't got quite to where they got really polished and went using rock bands and things like that. As far as I know, they played Marshalls on this record.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a real good thing. But the songs are strong. I mean, it's a rock till you drop, just kicks everything off, really gets your attention, right?
Yeah.
And you got Photograph, which is the hit single, which, it's a great song. It's well written and well produced.
Mm-hmm.
Stage Fright, another kick-ass track. Too Late for Love, another hit.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite off that album.
Die Hard the Hunters next, another strong track. Then you get to side 2, Fullin', which I actually brought the first edition. So I got this this is my copy from 1983. I don't know if you can see it on the label. It actually says Fullin' Around.
Nice. Okay.
It doesn't say Fullin'. So for years, I thought that the name of this track was Fullin' Around. And I would listen to it, and the chorus is, a foolin'. And I'm thinking, well, where's the around?
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear that lyric in there. So it's really mystifying why it was mislabeled. So apparently that's just a misprint. Because on this vinyl, you have the it's still Mercury Records, but it's the black label here. Oops, find the right side. Yeah. And then you have Fullin'. So they did correct it in subsequent printings. But on that first printing, or maybe second printing, I heard somewhere that two of the tracks on the original Mercury vinyl printing were inverted, or I guess swapped. Coming Under Fire, Action Not Words.
Okay.
But they're in the right order on my album, and they play in the right order. So
yeah,
I'm not sure what that's all about.
That's pretty cool, though. You have like a first pressing error right there. That's always nice to have in your collection.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. But like I said, at the time, I didn't know it, so it tripped me up for a long time, because I was like, I thought that song was called Fooling Around, but it's not. But anyway, so I think, let me just finish off the track listing here. So you got Fullin' Rock of Ages, of course, another hit.
Mm-hmm.
Rockin' Tune, Action Not Words. Coming Under Fire, another good one. And then Billy's Got a Gun. to me, that might be the weakest track on the album. It's a good track though. And you know, I mean, to write an album this strong is just amazing to me. They were also in a transitional period. You had Pete Willis was on the way out. In fact, he plays rhythm guitar on all of it, I think.
Okay.
They might have replaced some of his, but I think he plays rhythm. He doesn't play any leads. Phil Collin came in and he plays all the solos.
Right.
Steve Clark's on the album, but you had this transitional period where you got one guy leaving, you get a replacement guitar player, and they still put out a great album. So
yeah. And I was gonna say how what you said about the mechanical drumming, you kind of really hear that in the final track there. Billy's Got a Gun. Like at the end of the song, you just hear like the drums, and it just has that like mechanical sound. And when you brought that up, that's the first song I thought of off the album that sounds like mechanical drumming. So that's a good point. But I think for me though with this Pyromania is I always hear the hits like on the radio. It's all played to death. And that kind of keeps me away from like just putting on the album and listening to everything else. Like you said, the rest of the album is good songs all the way through. It is good songs, great songs. But I think just having like Rock of Ages, Photograph, like you have like 3 songs here that just get played every 6 hours on the radio. So it kind of, this isn't an album that I'm like, oh, I gotta die to hear this. It's, it's not. That's the only down negative, but that's not because the album's bad or anything. It's just obviously overplayed. But do you want to hit on just a little bit how you said it is a transitioning? Like it's weird because like a lot of Def Leppard fans are like, this is the last good album when they were still considered the new wave of heavy metal, or the traditional heavy metal, or the British side and such like that. Forgetting the slogan or like the acronym for it, but yeah. So
new wave of British heavy
there
metal.
you go. Yeah, there you go. I'm thinking like new wave of traditional heavy metal and such like that. But yeah, you're right. Thank you for bringing that up. So, do you consider this a part of the first 2 albums still of the same sound?
Good question. Well, yes and no. I mean, I think it is that transition. You've got the elements of On Through the Night, High and Dry, but you're heading into more of a hysteria kind of direction, but they're not quite there yet. They're still, pretty hard rock sound.
They still have an edge, a hard edge to them.
Yeah, they have the edge, and they've got, well, they don't literally have the edge. He's in U2, but but yeah, you had Mutt Lange still at the helm. He's one of the best producers ever.
Right.
Some would actually criticize the production of it, that it was, a bit too polished, a little too poppy, that kind of thing. Because Mutt Lange produced High and Dry, and that's pretty in your face and raw.
It is, yes.
So I think it is a transitional album, but to me, it still kicks ass, Yeah. And I mean, I like Hysteria too. I didn't at the time because it was too polished. Yeah. It was too pop. I'm like, but it, I mean, they're not even playing through amps on that album. They're playing through the Rockman. And
right.
It's an interesting, it sounds, like I said, at the time I wouldn't have liked it because I wanted to hear Marshalls and, Les Pauls and everything else is cranked up. And it was, but that was intentional because Mutt Lange basically was like, I'm going to make you guys as big as Michael Jackson. Because at the time Thriller was out and sold like 8 zillion copies. And, he's like, just let me do my thing, listen to me. You don't use your amps, use this little shitty box called the Rockman. Well, it was actually used in Boston. Tom Schultz had invented it.
Okay.
Boston. Right. But, it was one of the first non-amp type of, Sims that you could use to record with. So that was part of the thing. And there were all sorts of things where they would record some of the chords one note at a time. And, there was lots of vocal tracks and everything. So they really got into the production on that. But you didn't have that so much with Pyromania. It's a
No,
little
yeah,
more
of course.
rootsy, but it's still going in that direction with the polish. So I think that's the answer. It was a transition, but it kind of caught it at the right time because it had enough hard rock, but it had enough polish. And some might say it had too much. And if you
Mhm.
compare it to High and Dry, it definitely
Right,
did.
right. So yeah, I agree with that because like in '87 for Def Leppard, you're excited. '87's a good year for metal and rock, and you're kind of caught off guard with what Def Leppard released with Hysteria, a whole different animal compared to Pyromania, no pun intended. But yeah, so I agree. I agree with that. It is a great Pyromania is a great album. Just like I said, I think just for me, just a tad overplayed, but still great though. I worthy of being on this list. So I think we'll move on to my album of choice here. And you weren't aware of this band, were you, before when I said who I was gonna pick on this first show here? Were you aware
No,
of
not at all.
Wildside? Okay.
In fact, I don't think many people were aware of them, honestly.
And that's a shame.
Um,
That's a shame. Yeah, because I don't believe it even went gold, and it just kind of jumped out there and did good for maybe a week or two, and then just the wrong year, obviously. So we got Wildside here, guys. Under the Influence came out in 1992, and it's just it. Okay, so you're in 1992, and you got a convergence of all kinds of rock, blues rock, sleaze, hair metal, alternative, thrash. You got thrash pretty much at its peak as well. From you could argue 88 to 92 as being a peak for thrash as well. So you got a lot of good stuff going on here. So I'll just go through here. You got Drew Hanna on vocals, Brent Woods on guitar, Benny Rindance on guitars, and Mike Simon on bass, and Jimmy D on drums. So, but yeah, this is just like for me a great overall album. Great tone as well. Guitar tone is beautiful. The guitar tone, the guitar solos on this album, along with the songwriting as well. I think that kind of gets overlooked a little bit for this when people that I show to listen to it. But yeah, all three of those really raises this up for me as being one of my favorites because I had this in high school about 15 years ago. I just came across it on YouTube or whatever, and then I bought it on eBay. Never looked back. It's been in steady rotation for me the last 15 years, and not too many albums can say that. So yeah, definitely Hang On Lucy was the single with a video. Very, very good song. Very sleazy, hard rocking to the point. And you got like two of these songs on here. The next one here, So Far Away. So Far Away, the second track, might be the low point of this album, but in the context of the album, it's still good. It's for me, it just drags along just a little bit. But it's an interesting solo with it and a really good solo, and that just helps raise it for me. Because like as I want the song to go faster, So Far Away, it doesn't do that, but the solo is a little faster than the whole rest of the song, so that kind of gives a nice little dynamic too for me. Then you move on here, track number 3, Monkey See, Monkey Do. Very mainstream, digestible song, but still good and catchy. Still good guitar tone on it. Very good vocals. Drew sounds really good. One of my favorite singers of the early 90s. So then we move on here to track number 4, a ballad, Just Another Night Alone. Not the best ballad, because there's 2, maybe 3, depending who you ask, ballads on this album. It's not my favorite ballad on the album, but it's better than other bands' best ballad. So if you want to put it like that in context. And then you move on to Looks Like Love, another mid-tempo, kind of like easy digestible song. Some people would consider it like a love song just by the lyrics. Not a ballad though. I don't consider it. So, and then now moving on to the second half here, you got Laden Sin, which is probably the darkest. Well, it definitely is the darkest song on the album. Just you can tell by the title. The slow guitar intro feels real sinister, and it's just a sinister riff all the way through. Just evil lyrics, great chorus, and then in the middle with the breakdown on the piano, it just adds that element of, sinister. It just makes it just feel that much darker. So that's a really good song. That's one of my favorites on here. And then track number 7 and 8, 7's an intro, like an acoustic intro to How Many Lies. Great mid-tempo blues sleaze song. Oh God, it doesn't get much better. If you want to know what like sleaze sounds like, not in your face sleaze, but like just where the blues influence is in 92 for rock and hair metal or sleaze metal, this song is what I would give to somebody to be like, listen to this, and this is where our influence of blues is. So, and then you go on to track number 10, Hair of a Dog, very good, great heavy fun track. It reminds me a lot of Night Train from Guns N' Roses, but I think I would take Hair of a Dog from Wildside over Night Train, which I know a lot of people are probably gonna call sacrilege on that. But to me, Night Train, it's a good song, but I mean, might be overplayed a little bit on the radio around here. So, Hair of a Dog, very good. Track number 10, Heart and Soul. Great guitar intro, like licks. He just throws like a couple licks at you right from the start. And just another sing-along chorus, another good solo. Now we get to the best ballad on the album. Kiss This Love Goodbye. All I'm going to say is one of the best ballads of the era, period. So that's all I'm going to say about that song. Check it out, guys, if you love ballads. Kiss This Love Goodbye. And then finally, for the album closer, the best song, I think, on this album. And that's crazy for it being a closer, but that's Clock Strikes. Great, heavy party song to finish off the album, like I said. The lyrics, you feel the lyrics. The lyrics kind of like make the song come to life too. It whenever you go out on a Saturday night and it's 12 o'clock, you should be playing the song. So yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like I said, Clock Strikes, probably my favorite song on here. Kiss This Love Goodbye would probably be my second, with Laden Sin tying for that second there. But yeah, easy 4 out of 5 for me out of 5. So, or 4.5 out of 5, I'll say. But yeah, that's pretty much my view on the album. I know that was a lot there, but I love this album, and it needs to be shown to people, and people need to hear it. So, but yeah, tell me what you thought of it, because you gave it a spin or two. So tell me a little bit.
Well, yeah, I listened to it. Like I said, it was the first that I ever heard of them, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I had they were great. I mean, I was really impressed. I was like, wow, these guys are good. So I went to look them up online.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have Wikipedia open. I'm like, well, I'm sure they're on here. No, they're not even on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking, I did a Google search. I found a little bit about them,
Mm-hmm.
and then I looked at the album, that the link you sent, right?
Right.
And it had about 10,000 views. I'm like, that's not a lot. I don't even know when that was posted, but in the scheme of things, it's not. Oh, and then I went to read about these guys and found out the whole story, which was a tragic thing. I mean, they came out at the wrong time and everything else. Grunge came in and basically killed all those bands.
Yeah.
And then I heard that they were all, got day jobs and everything else, and basically are out of music for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really impressed. I thought they were great. And I agree with you. I don't know that I didn't honestly digest the whole record. I listened to probably 3/4 of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just trying to get taste for what these guys were about. And I was, yeah, I mean, I was surprised that they didn't go farther than they did. I'm surprised that I didn't even hear about them,
Right.
although,
And like you said, just the wrong time. If this came out in 1990, I think it would at least went gold. I think. So
yeah, I mean, that's a good point. There is a lot of that, time and place has a lot to do with some of these things. Actually, that's a good topic for a video, that the albums that came out at the wrong time. Like, what if this album would have came out this year? Would it have,
yeah,
gone nuts? So
there's plenty of I had plenty of ammo on that for plenty of albums. So that we will do that as well for a video. So
yeah, but anyway, so that's good. I was surprised at how many tracks it had, because the way do you get the best, usually the best album, like if you want to critique every track and say there's no filler in this album, they're going to have less tracks. That
Right.
gives you more odds of getting it.
Yes.
If it's only got 7 tracks and they're all really great, as opposed to 15 tracks, there's liable to be something in there that's not too great.
I agree 100%. 100%.
And I think we've talked about that too. Bands will do albums, and there are a lot of tracks that are probably B-sides or throwaways. They shouldn't really be on there, but they put them on and made a double album out of it or something. Why not just condense all of it into one album? You'd have a killer album, and you'd have, you don't need all this filler.
Exactly.
It drives me nuts when bands do that. So anyway, but
yeah, like there is 12 songs, like you said, and I think the only one I would say that they could have probably took off was the second track, So Far Away. But even with that still on, this flows really well, and every song kind of has its own feel to it, and you don't get bored, you don't get lost in it either. And that's hard to say for an album that's 12 tracks long, because I agree with you, 8 to 10 is a sweet spot, and anything more than that, I start kind of coming back and be like, yeah, some of these tracks just need to go. So I agree with you. But yeah, and then that pretty much wraps up this album here for the review, I guess. Or this is all killer, no filler. Same with Def Leppard Pyromania. And for the 2 Wildside fans that are still out there, they did come out with a second album about a year or 2 later, but it's total grunge, totally different. Only 2 of the original members are on this, the singer and the bass player. And it's just, I haven't listened to it for 5 years, and I could literally just put this back on the shelf for another 100 years and not listen to it. It's bad. It's totally night and day. That's not even the right comparison. It's more than night and day. It's crazy. But yeah, guys, Wildside, Under the Influence, and Def Leppard Pyromania. So we want to thank you guys for watching. Let us know in the comments what you guys think of Pyromania. Does anybody even know of Wildside or this Under the Influence album? Which I would be very interested and shocked to have a couple people comment on it. But we'll see. There are fans out there, so definitely. Like I said, guys, that pretty much wraps up this album. This video, and we want to thank Chris for coming back on with us. And he'll be back. He'll be back next week. So look out for that video. Not sure what we're going to do next week yet, but we have some ideas. But that pretty much wraps up this video. Thank you guys for watching. This is Krash. That's Chris. And we will see you guys later.